spark of excitement only to find yourself oddly empty. Moments later, it's as if the thrill vanished into thin air, leaving you wondering why you even clicked buy now in the first place. Today's video dives into that strange, familiar cycle, uncovering the hidden psychology behind our constant urge to shop and perform. But here's the twist: you might be shocked to discover just how deliberately marketers have crafted this feeling of never being enough. If you're intrigued to see how deeply consumer culture shapes your everyday decisions, and more importantly, how you can reclaim control and satisfaction in your life, stay tuned until the very end. Trust me, the conclusion might just change the way you see your next purchase. And if you enjoy meaningful conversations like these, consider subscribing. It's a simple way to support our channel and ensures you won't miss future insights that resonate deeply with your life experience. Think back to the most recent time you found yourself hovering over that Buy Now button on an online store. Maybe it was something you genuinely required, like a household item that would supposedly solve a nagging inconvenience, or perhaps it was a bit more frivolous, a treat for yourself after a stressful week at work or school. The moment you clicked that button, a tiny surge of excitement coursed through you. For just an instant, you felt validated in your choice. You'd done something decisive, something that signaled self-care or personal progress. Then the waiting began, checking the order status, refreshing the tracking page sometimes, multiple times a day, even though you knew it would not accelerate the delivery. In those hours or days leading up to the package's arrival, the anticipation lingered like the promise of something new and better. Once it finally reached your doorstep, you opened it with the thrill of unboxing a little piece of hope. But that surge of happiness vanished surprisingly fast, often within minutes. The item itself might have been perfectly functional or attractive, yet the emotional high of the purchase evaporated, leaving you feeling just as normal as before. This recurring scenario is far from unique. Millions of people around the world experience that cycle of online shopping highs and lows, which suggests a pattern rooted in something more pervasive than mere convenience or occasional indulgence. In the modern age, shopping is carefully packaged as an emotional experience complete with psychological triggers that mimic genuine forms of personal growth. We are no longer simply buying objects to serve practical purposes in our lives, though practicality is often the cloak it wears. We're also buying little bursts of identity reinforcement, fleeting moments of perceived progress, and illusions of control over our destiny. The moment you finalize a purchase, there's a sense, however faint, that you've upgraded yourself in some meaningful way. You might think I'm investing in me, or I'm becoming the person I want to be, even if the item in question is trivial. Yet like a firework fizzling out, that momentary brightness disappears almost as quickly as it came. There's a reason for its brevity. Today's consumer goods and the marketing strategies behind them are designed to provide just enough psychological reward to entice repeat engagement, but never enough to grant lasting satisfaction. You get that dopamine hit when you click, when you anticipate, and when you unbox. But 10 or 15 minutes later, you're back to baseline, perhaps even slightly below it, itching for another fix. Over time, you may start browsing again, scrolling through products with the vague notion that maybe something else, something a little different will fill the void that the last purchase did not. Instead of questioning the overall system that perpetuates this endless search for the next best thing, we tend to blame the product. That was nice for a moment, but it didn't really change anything we think. Maybe next time I'll pick something that truly resonates. This cyclical behavior is far from accidental. It's the result of deliberately engineered experiences carefully studied and refined by behavioral psychologists and marketing experts. Their collective aim is to tap into our innate drives and vulnerabilities like the need for novelty, the desire for social approval, and the fear of missing out and harness them for profit. We're presented with the promise that each new purchase can become a step towards self-improvement. It could be the new outfit that transforms our style and social status, or the latest gadget that makes us more efficient and tech-savvy. Yet when these promises fail to deliver lasting fulfillment, we seldom point the finger at the cultural machine that creates the dissatisfaction in the first place. Instead, we simply roll up our sleeves and embark on the next shopping adventure, chasing another microdose of excitement that is bound to recede as quickly as it arrives. Central to this phenomenon is the modern marketing landscape, which has advanced far beyond just showcasing the practical features of products. Advertising no longer limits itself to explaining why an item can be helpful in your daily life. Instead, it actively shapes emotional narratives aimed at making you feel a certain way about yourself. It sells you not just the physical item, but also an aspirational identity, a life that appears more meaningful, more fashionable, or more aligned with the latest trends. In essence, it sells you a story, one where you are the central hero, reaching new heights of self-realization with every purchase. Underneath these sparkling promises lies a more cynical mechanism. Marketing sells you lack before it sells you fulfillment. The message, subtle but persistent, is that who you are right now and what you have right now is not enough. There's always something fresher, faster, or more prestigious that you ought to be incorporating into your life. It's not enough to own a reliable car. You need one with advanced tech features that reflect your modern status. It's not enough to have a comfortable wardrobe. You need items that declare your uniqueness or demonstrate you're in the know about evolving tastes. This perpetually moving benchmark effectively keeps consumers in a state of mild discontent. You might be almost there, but never quite complete. Such engineered discontent isn't limited to objects. The same logic applies to experiences, exotic vacations, high-profile events, luxurious spa days. These too are packaged and sold as necessary components of a fulfilling life. You might be repeatedly reminded that your weekends are too mundane, your free time too unremarkable, your approach to leisure lacking the wow factor everyone else seems to be enjoying. Maybe you've seen an influencer sipping an artisan latte in an impeccably decorated cafe laptop open, living a life that appears effortless, creative, and endlessly rewarding. Moments like these feed the unsettling feeling that you are missing out and that there's always a more stylish or impressive way to spend your time and money. The result of this constant drip of messaging is not genuine motivation, but a simmering anxiety. You find yourself forever on the lookout for the next item or experience that might just resolve your sense of being behind. Because that sense of lagging, of not quite having it all together, is precisely what the system aims to cultivate. If you were ever truly satisfied, the loop would break. The marketing machine profits most when you remain in a cycle of perpetually reaching but never fully arriving. And in that sense, the modern advertising world doesn't merely respond to existing human desires. It helps create and amplify those desires, ensuring that they remain endless. Interestingly, these tactics do not necessarily rely on your lack of intelligence or willpower. You might be highly disciplined in other areas of life or acutely aware of the pitfalls of compulsive spending. Still, the emotional architecture built by consumer culture is persistently nudging you, planting seeds of worry that you're falling short or that your peers have somehow gotten ahead. It whispers, "You don't have to settle. You can do better, be better, look better. And the subtlety can make it even more convincing as it cleverly merges the concept of self-improvement with perpetual consumption. If you dare to pause, reflect, or question it, the system cleverly switches the script to suggest that the fault lies not in the narrative, but in your inability to find the right product. A key figure in understanding how these reward loops get embedded in our behaviors is the psychologist B.F. Skinner. His research into operant conditioning laid the groundwork for how to shape behavior by strategically offering or withholding rewards. Initially tested on animals like pigeons and rats, these principles turned out to be exceedingly relevant to human psychology, especially when adapted by marketers. By pairing certain cues, such as time-limited discounts, flashy buy now buttons, or personalized ads with immediate rewards, the quick thrill of making a purchase, the hope for social approval, or even the basic excitement of receiving packages, brands create a powerful conditioning mechanism. Over repeated exposure, we become conditioned to respond to these stimuli almost automatically. At a certain point, the click-to-buy reflex becomes second nature, and we might find ourselves shopping in moments of boredom or stress, simply because that habit is deeply ingrained. In fact, many people rationalize these impulses under the banner of retail therapy, linking the act of buying something new with temporarily alleviating negative emotions. What starts as an occasional treat can easily morph into a recurring pattern, one that doesn't necessarily enrich our lives, but does serve to distract us from discomfort or unhappiness until the bill arrives and the fleeting high has long since faded. It's not merely a case of capitalism gone too far, but a sophisticated ecosystem built on the insights of psychology. Our digital landscapes, from social media feeds to online retail platforms, are meticulously designed to ensure continuous engagement. Many interfaces are akin to casinos in their user experience. Principles, bright visuals, instant notifications, elements of randomness, and the promise of immediate gratification. Each notification about a limited sale or exclusive offer reactivates the loop, making you think, maybe this is the moment I'll find that perfect thing. What you might actually find is another fleeting hit of dopamine that further cements your habit. On top of that, personalization, algorithms based on your browsing history, previous purchases, and even your social media activity aim to present you with offers you'll be most tempted to accept. These algorithms are so sophisticated that they often sense your moods and vulnerabilities better than you do. If you've recently watched videos on home organization, you might be targeted with ads for storage solutions and minimalist decor. If you've posted about fitness goals, workout gear, and health supplements will pop up next. Each targeted ad is a small nudge preying on your existing interests or emotional states to make buying feel almost like an inevitable next step. Yet the scariest part is how seamless this process becomes. Because we see ourselves as autonomous, rational beings, it's easy to gloss over the external triggers steering our actions. We think, I decided to purchase that new gadget on my own, without fully acknowledging that entire teams of behavioral designers, psychologists, and data analysts have orchestrated the platform to encourage exactly that decision. Over time, these micro-influences accumulate, fostering an internal sense of lack and pushing us to fill it again and again with goods that promise meaning but deliver only momentary pleasure. One of the major consequences of these orchestrated shopping patterns is that they can easily displace our understanding of what we genuinely need and value. When the commercial narrative incessantly reminds you of what you are missing, you can easily lose sight of what you actually possess, both in terms of material goods and intrinsic qualities. It's not just about owning more. It's about the insidious shift in our self-perception as we start to believe we're defined by what we lack rather than by who we fundamentally are. This shift is particularly dangerous because it extends beyond the realm of mere possessions. Think about how experiences, social media interactions, and even intangible attributes like self-esteem are increasingly commodified. We post images of our meals, vacation spots, or workout regimens with the subtle undertone that we are curating our lives for public consumption. In doing so, we can start to see ourselves less as whole people and more as collections of brandable moments. The result is a fragmented sense of self, one that can't easily find contentment because the measuring stick is constantly external and perpetually shifting. Meanwhile, marketing strategies rely on the fact that humans are social creatures who compare themselves with others. The glimpses you catch of someone else's life, usually their best, most polished moments, feed that little voice inside your head that says they have it better, they must be happier. If you notice a friend's new gadget on their Instagram story, part of you wonders if you're now behind the times. If another friend posts about an upscale dining experience, you might quietly question your own lifestyle choices. The marketing machine doesn't have to do much here. It simply sets the stage so that these comparisons become automatic and relentless. But the subtle genius or perversion of modern consumer culture is that it often cloaks these comparisons in narratives of empowerment. You're not keeping up with the Joneses, the rhetoric goes. You're investing in yourself. You're staying relevant. You're treating yourself because you deserve it. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying nice things or rewarding yourself, the problem arises when this reward mechanism becomes your primary mode of coping or your primary source of identity reinforcement. Instead of self-reflection or interpersonal connection, clicking buy becomes the reflexive solution for restlessness, boredom, or a vague sense of unworthiness. In essence, today's consumer landscape thrives on your discontent. And to maintain that dynamic, it encourages you to chase intangible ideals that are always just out of reach. Every time you get close to feeling satisfied, the bar moves, a new trend emerges, a faster version of the gadget is released, or a more exotic travel destination starts making the rounds in your social circles. Before you know it, the feeling of satisfaction you once had is overshadowed by a new wave of aspirational want. And in that endless pursuit, you risk becoming disconnected from the values, relationships, and qualities that give you deeper, more enduring fulfillment. The fragmentation of self that arises from these cycles of constant wanting is nowhere more evident than in our adoption of performative lifestyles. In an era dominated by social media, even the simplest of actions like cooking a meal or reading a book can turn into a stage for performance. Rather than merely enjoying the act of cooking or savoring the content of a book, we find ourselves weighing how these moments might appear to an online audience. Am I using the trendiest ingredients? Does the book I'm reading showcase my intellectual depth or aesthetic sensibility? And in the process of factoring in public perception, we subtly lose the capacity to be fully present in our private joys. This performance-based mindset is deeply tied to the idea of constructing an idealized identity, often referred to in psychology as the ideal self. Carl Rogers, a famous humanistic psychologist, described the tension between one's real self, who you fundamentally are, including your vulnerabilities and unique characteristics, and the ideal self, the polished version of yourself that you aspire to be. In a healthy process of self-development, the real self and the ideal self gradually align as you grow and evolve in an authentic direction. But in a consumer-driven world, the ideal self is frequently shaped not by your own values or introspection, but by a tapestry of advertisements, influencer lifestyles, and brand campaigns. Because these ideals are curated at a mass scale, there's often a startling uniformity to them. The same brand-driven aesthetics, the same aspirational experiences, the same illusions of perpetual happiness. It might manifest in identical poses in travel photos, near-identical decor in living spaces, or the ceaseless desire for the latest and greatest phone. The ironically common end result is that in chasing uniqueness, many people end up more alike than ever aligned to an externally imposed standard rather than an internal calling. The more you invest in this curated self, the more precarious it becomes emotionally. If your self-worth is tied to the phone model in your hand or the brand of clothing you wear, then each technological upgrade or seasonal fashion shift threatens your sense of identity. Feeling outdated becomes not just a style concern, but an existential one. And so the chase continues, fueled by fear of not being relevant, not being seen, not being worthy of attention or admiration. It's a fear deftly exploited by an ecosystem that thrives on the instability of self-image. Meanwhile, genuine human needs like creativity, meaningful relationships, community belonging, and emotional well-being may languish. It's all too easy to postpone deep conversations with friends or reflective time in solitude because we're busy staying on top of consumer demands. Checking the new arrivals, updating wish lists, or scrolling through curated social feeds that spark the next desire consumes the little free time we have. Eventually, we might discover we've built a life brimming with things but lacking substance, bound more by our next purchase than by any shared sense of purpose or deep personal insight. Consider how daily schedules have adapted to accommodate these cycles of consumption. Many individuals work long hours, 50, 60, sometimes more per week, believing that the grind is necessary to maintain a certain standard of living. The rationale might start out practical. I'm working this hard to pay the bills, provide for my family, or secure a comfortable future. But as the cycles of consumption intensify, a noticeable shift occurs. Instead of viewing income as a means for essential living and modest enjoyment, people begin to see it as a ticket to fuel ever-growing material, appetites, brand loyalties, and fleeting pleasures. In this process, something subtle yet profound happens to the concept of leisure. What used to be time spent recuperating, bonding with loved ones, or engaging in restorative activities like reading, meditating, or simply daydreaming is increasingly overtaken by consumer-related engagement. Instead of genuine downtime, we have shopping downtime, whether it's browsing online marketplaces, wandering through malls, or planning the next big purchase under the guise of research. This shift means that the psychological space once dedicated to introspection or organic recreation is now invaded by marketing stimuli, each promising to fill any void you might be feeling. Moreover, the intrusion doesn't stop with our personal lives. Professional environments also capitalize on the consumerist mindset. Meetings might be peppered with discussions about the latest tech gadgets or stylish clothes, subtly reinforcing that fitting and demand staying current on consumer trends. Even brand partnerships between major corporations can trickle down to employees, where certain items or technologies are heavily promoted as part of the company's identity. The lines between your personal sense of self and your professional persona blur as both become entwined with shared consumer norms. Simultaneously, the demands of modern technology ensure that you're almost always connected. Even if you take a few minutes at work to relax, You might find yourself clicking through promotions on your phone or scanning social media ads that are expertly personalized to your browsing patterns. In those moments when you could have been letting your mind wander, perhaps creatively or contemplatively, you're yet again nudged toward the next purchase. This environment is not just about selling you products. It's about capturing every spare second of your attention so that the habit of consumption becomes as natural as breathing. The net effect is an erosion of our ability to simply be to exist in a space that isn't defined by productivity or consumption. We forget how to sit with our thoughts, to observe them without judgment, to let daydream blossom, or to truly rest in the absence of external noise. Instead, the emptiness of quiet moments triggers restlessness, which the consumer system readily exploits by offering perpetual engagement. So we scroll, we click, we fill cart after cart, believing we're using our free time productively, or at the very least, pleasurably. But in reality, we might be squandering the precious intervals where real reflection, creativity, and emotional healing could occur. Against this backdrop, it's worth asking ourselves a deceptively simple question: what truly brings meaning to my life? The distinction between fleeting pleasure and deeper meaning is pivotal here. According to psychologist Martin Seligman, while pleasure is related to immediate sensory gratification, like the rush of buying something new, meaning transcends the ephemeral. It connects us to a sense of purpose, belonging, or personal growth that sustains us through life's ups and downs. When people confuse these two, seeking meaning in momentary pleasures, they set themselves up for perpetual dissatisfaction. Modern consumerism banks on this confusion. It expertly packages goods and experiences to appear as though they will provide not just short-lived enjoyment, but also a pathway to a more meaningful existence. Advertisements often portray serene or triumphant scenarios, someone smiling broadly as they unbox a shiny product, or families bonding magically during a luxurious vacation. It's never just about the object or the trip. It's about what these things supposedly symbolize: love, connection, prestige, or self-actualization. The trouble is that actual self-actualization rarely arrives wrapped in a shipping box or with a pristine travel itinerary. It emerges from sustained effort, introspection, and relationships founded on genuine empathy. This discrepancy gives rise to the familiar post-purchase slump. You might have experienced it after the thrill of acquisition fades. You're left wondering why you still feel incomplete. You look around at your new purchase or your recent lavish experience and think, shouldn't I be happier now? But that emptiness is not a malfunction. It's an important signal, a reminder that no external object or single experience can permanently fill a deeper emotional or spiritual need. The system, however, encourages you to interpret that emptiness as a cue to buy again, perpetuating the cycle rather than prompting you to exit it. For many people, this realization comes in fleeting moments of vulnerability late at night, when scrolling through social media leaves them inexplicably sad, or after a package is delivered and unwrapped, leaving no real transformation in its wake. The rest of the time, the daily grind and the avalanche of consumer messaging drown out these questions. The wheel keeps turning, work and spend, and occasionally enjoy small bursts of pleasure. But meaning remains elusive because it lies in realms that commerce cannot fully penetrate, like the authenticity of relationships, the profundity of self-knowledge, or the joy of creating something that reflects your true spirit. Reclaiming meaning starts with noticing the difference between a quick dopamine hit and a more lasting sense of fulfillment. It's the difference between receiving a social media like on your new pair of shoes and having a meaningful conversation with a friend about something that genuinely matters to both of you. It's the difference between an impulsive shopping spree to alleviate boredom and taking up a challenging creative hobby that pushes you to grow. The more you become aware of this contrast, the harder it becomes for consumer culture to manipulate you into seeking depth in places where only superficial satisfaction can be found. In our modern age, one of the most striking repercussions of rampant consumerism is how thoroughly it has woven itself into the concept of personal identity. Owning more used to be a sign of affluence and security proof that one could provide for themselves or their family. Over time, this notion expanded from fulfilling basic needs to signaling social status and eventually to forming the bedrock of who we believe we are. The subtle shift from I have to I and what I have has significant psychological ramifications. It's not just a matter of impressing neighbors with a new car in the driveway, but a deeper entanglement where possessions become proxies for our sense of self-worth and emotional well-being. This entanglement is further complicated by the way social media amplifies it. While in the past, people might only glimpse their neighbors' new purchases or hear friends brag about them in person. Today, we are exposed through endless online feeds to a constant reel of curated lifestyles from acquaintances, influencers, and even complete strangers around the world. These polished snapshots serve as a highlight reel of consumer triumphs. The new outfit, the remodeled kitchen, the exotic vacation. Although these visuals might seem harmless, just people sharing what makes them happy, they become potent triggers for comparison, igniting the sense that we're lagging behind if we're not matching those consumer milestones. Crucially, the architecture of social platforms encourages such displays. Algorithms often reward eye-catching posts with more visibility, and content that flaunts success or luxury tends to generate strong reactions, likes, comments, shares. This feedback loop sends a potent message to gain attention, admiration, or even envy, showcase a life that appears abundant and exhilarating. Over time, it becomes a performance, consciously or unconsciously. You buy certain items, visit certain places, or undertake certain activities, not merely for personal enjoyment, but because, they'll translate well into social media content. Instead of exploring experiences that genuinely resonate with your deeper values or interests, you might prioritize those that photograph nicely or align with a certain trendy aesthetic. The self that emerges from these dynamics is precarious. If your identity is linked to fleeting digital applause and an ever-rotating roster of material possessions, any disruption like a missed trend, an unexpectedly large expense that prevents a purchase or a social media algorithm, change can unsettle your sense of worth. Even those who recognize the pitfalls can get ensnared. The pace of digital life and the pervasiveness of consumer messaging make it easy to slip into habitual patterns of portraying oneself in ways designed to elicit the next round of external validation. Carl Rogers' real self versus ideal self dichotomy becomes acute here. The real self is your authentic blend of strengths, weaknesses, quirks, and evolving aspirations, an organic, multifaceted being who grows with time and experience. The ideal self in a healthy framework is the person you're striving to become, guided by your values, passions, and moral compass. Yet, in a consumer-saturated environment, the ideal self is too often constructed from algorithmically boosted images, brand slogans, and marketing narratives that do not necessarily align with your deeper essence. The more you chase that externally shaped ideal, the further you drift from your true nature, exacerbating a perpetual sense of incompleteness. At its most damaging, this incongruity between the real self and the marketed ideal self can create an internal fracture. You sense that the life you're performing online or even in day-to-day social contexts doesn't genuinely match your internal reality. Perhaps your curated social media feed looks effortless and cool, yet internally you feel stressed, lonely, or unfulfilled. Or maybe your wardrobe and home aesthetic are constantly updated to reflect the latest trends, but you can't shake a nagging sense that all of it is disguising deeper dissatisfaction. This inner tension isn't just an abstract psychological concept, it has real-world implications. Anxiety, depression, and chronic stress can emerge from striving to maintain an image that isn't aligned with your authentic self. The more you invest in that image, the more you're likely to rely on external validation for self-esteem. You might find yourself craving likes and comments or the compliments of co-workers as signs that you're doing it right. Conversely, a drop in social engagement or a critical comment can feel disproportionately devastating. After all, if so much of your self-worth is tied up in these signals, any hiccup registers as an existential threat. Adding to the complexity is the notion of lifestyle inflation. As you scale up your consumer habits to match or outdo those around you, your baseline for satisfaction moves upward. What once felt like a luxury can quickly become a necessity in your eyes. You might recall a time when you felt content with an older phone model, but after upgrading to the newest version and seeing everyone else do the same, you start believing the latest model is essential. In reality, what has changed may be less about actual utility and more about the social signals you send and receive. Over time, the budget demands of maintaining this inflated lifestyle constrain your finances, relationships, and mental well-being. There is also an insidious layer to how brands often encourage these upgrades or changes in lifestyle. We're told it's about evolving, about refusing to settle, about optimizing every facet of our existence. This is the marketing masterstroke, framing relentless consumption as a journey of personal betterment. The question is never, should I buy a new gadget, but which of these new gadgets is right for my elevated standard? Couched in this language of self-improvement, it becomes easy to justify each purchase. Meanwhile, the real issues like whether you genuinely need the upgrade or whether it aligns with your values are conveniently sidelined. Ultimately, this continuous striving leaves little room for self-acceptance. True self-acceptance often involves embracing imperfections, being okay with good enough, and recognizing that you are more than the sum of your belongings or your feed's aesthetics. But in a culture where your next purchase is painted as a pivotal step toward the ultimate version of yourself, contentment is cast as complacency. And because each leap toward that shimmering ideal only brings a fleeting high, you end up in a hamster wheel of consumption, always running, never arriving. One of the most profound indicators of how deeply consumerism has infiltrated our sense of self is the way it colonizes our leisure time. Historically, human beings had periods of unstructured rest time to daydream, to reflect, to connect with nature or with others in a shared community. These moments weren't simply idle. They were crucibles for creativity, emotional processing, and social bonding. Now, however, any pause in the day is at risk of being filled by some form of consumer engagement. If you're not actively working, there's a good chance you're scrolling on your phone, absorbing advertisements, evaluating products, or admiring others' purchases. This phenomenon is particularly visible in the idea of lifestyle curation, where every aspect of downtime, travel hobbies, even personal routines gets carefully orchestrated for maximum shareability and social prestige. The simple act of going for a walk might become overshadowed by a desire to capture the perfect shot of a scenic path, ideally one that inspires envy or admiration in others. Relaxing at home with a cup of tea might turn into a mini photo shoot, complete with branded tea accessories and an aesthetic layout designed to look both casual and aspirational. Such performative rest can be paradoxically exhausting. Instead of genuinely relaxing, your mind is engaged in the production of an image, a brand story that you're weaving around yourself. The weight of maintaining this curated facade can accumulate, leaving little mental space for real introspection or emotional processing. The next day, you might feel inexplicably drained, as though you never truly stopped to recharge. In that drained state, you become even more vulnerable to advertising messages promising quick fixes, a wellness retreat, a new self-care regimen, or yet another product guaranteed to restore your sense of calm and balance. The irony is that the solution to this exhaustion, true downtime free from external demands, often seems less accessible than a retail fix. It's easier to log on to a shopping website and pick out a self-care kit than it is to fully unplug and sit quietly with your own thoughts. And because scrolling and shopping are so normalized, a simple break can quickly turn into another consumption activity. Worse, this cycle fuels itself. Feeling depleted by too much performance or comparison leads to more consumption, which leads to further depletion. Meanwhile, those unstructured moments you might have spent cultivating deeper relationships with family, friends, or even yourself slip by. Soon, entire days or weekends vanish into the haze of digital consumption and curated living. In the long run, this erosion of genuine leisure and real human contact undermines the very satisfaction and connection we crave. The false self thrives in this environment because it's constantly fueled by external images and fleeting hits of social validation. It's perpetually busy, always on the go, always seeking the next thing to show or the next thing to acquire. But what it cannot do is sit still and be content with what already is, because that would reveal its fragile foundations. So how did we arrive at a point where so many of us are performing our lives rather than simply living them? Part of the answer lies in the depth of our exposure to consumer messaging, which starts from an early age. Children witness advertisements for toys, cereals, clothes, all cleverly designed with bright colors, catchy tunes, or popular cartoon characters. Even toddlers learn to recognize brand logos before they can read. Over time, these brand affiliations seep into their identity formation. By adolescence, the pressure to keep up with certain material signifiers, shoes, gadgets, accessories, intensifies, fueled by peer comparison and the primal teenage urge to fit in. As adults, we become more sophisticated in our consumption habits, but the underlying triggers remain. We've simply graduated to bigger and pricier items: cars, real estate, luxury vacations, high-end tech. Social media supercharges this dynamic, expanding our peer group from the immediate neighborhood or school to a global audience. We don't just compare ourselves to classmates or co-workers anymore. We compare ourselves to influencers, celebrities, and random strangers whose curated feeds are effortlessly seductive. This broadening of comparison sets new, often unattainable standards, which keeps the cycle of purchase and display turning. Moreover, we exist in an economic system that incentivizes spending over saving. From credit card offers to buy now, pay later schemes, the financial apparatus is set up to make immediate consumption feel easy and desirable. Delayed gratification, once seen as a virtue that could lead to long-term stability, is often overshadowed by the cultural mantra of treat yourself or you only live once. While there's wisdom in enjoying life's moments, these slogans often serve as justifications for impulsive or excessive spending, guided by the notion that the best way to seize the day is to buy something new. In this sense, the false self thrives because every aspect of modern life, from financial structures to digital platforms, is designed to keep us purchasing and performing. The boundaries between our professional identities, personal lives, and consumer roles blur to the point where it's hard to tell if we're working to earn a living or living to support our consumption habits. The pandemic of busyness that plagues so many adults further entrenches this behavior. With limited free time, the convenience of one-click shopping or curated subscription boxes becomes even more tempting, an instant solution to the problem of "I need something new" to spark joy in my limited leisure. Unfortunately, these quickly acquired joys are fleeting. Each purchase might lift your mood momentarily or make your social feed appear more impressive, but that boost soon wanes. The deeper, more abiding satisfaction we yearn for, rooted in community purpose, creativity, and love, requires nurturing and presence. And presence is precisely what is sacrificed when we're perpetually rushing from one acquisition to the next. The false self becomes the main character in our life's script, leaving the real self underdeveloped, overshadowed, and often overlooked. Now imagine the toll this takes on our collective psyche. If enough people are caught up in this cycle, constantly busy, financially stretched, and emotionally tethered to their next purchase, the broader culture evolves around these norms. Even institutions outside of commerce, such as education and healthcare, can subtly absorb these consumerist values. Students, for instance, might learn to view their education primarily as a pathway to higher earning potential, rather than an opportunity for personal growth or civic contribution. Patients might select healthcare providers based on brand prestige and luxury amenities, rather than outcomes or compassionate care. It's a societal drift towards superficial measures of success and well-being overshadowing deeper metrics like genuine intellectual curiosity or empathetic service. This culture also elevates the importance of image management. Many workplaces encourage or outright expect employees to present themselves in ways that reflect the company's brand, extending consumer performance into professional life. Dress codes, gadget preferences, and even how one decorates their cubicle or home office can all become signals of whether you fit. The lines between personal style, professional requirement, and brand loyalty blur, creating yet another layer of performed identity. And because this performed identity might be essential to job security or advancement, it can feel non-negotiable. In this context, social media often acts as an extension of one's personal brand. That means you're not just sharing a slice of your life. You're curating a constant feed that signals your alignment with certain values or aesthetics. Values and aesthetics often derived from consumer culture. The more your identity is wrapped up in these external signals, the more precarious it becomes. Economic downturns, layoffs, or unexpected expenses can not only strain your finances, but also chip away at your sense of self. A drop in disposable income might mean fewer new outfits, less extravagant outings, or cutting back on the daily coffee run that doubles as a personal ritual. Moreover, the social mirror affects how we perceive one another in ways that can erode genuine community bonds. Instead of seeing each other as whole, complex individuals, we might reduce each other to sets of consumption choices: the car they drive, the brand of phone they use, the furniture in their home. Conversations can gravitate towards surface-level discussions of possessions or experiences, rather than deeper connections or shared understandings. Friendships and relationships risk becoming transactional based on mutual performance rather than authentic common ground. When nearly every facet of modern living can be translated into a consumer choice, and when one's identity is so tightly interlocked with those choices, it's no wonder feelings of emptiness or existential questioning creep in. We sense often deep in our gut that there must be more to life than this treadmill of constant acquisition and performance. Yet it can be daunting to step off, especially when the entire social and economic structure around us rewards those who keep running. Realizing that the system is designed to keep us in motion is an important first step in deciding how or whether we want to participate in the race at the same breakneck pace. The question then becomes, how do we begin to dismantle the false self that consumer culture so effectively props up? The answer lies in practices and mindsets that encourage genuine presence, introspection, and community engagement elements that by their very nature resist commodification. It starts with awareness, noticing the triggers that compel us to shop or to put on a performance. Are we genuinely in need of something, or are we reacting to stress, boredom, or the subtle social pressure to keep up? Pausing to ask even a single question, do I really need this, can disrupt the autopilot mode that the system relies on. Another powerful tactic is deliberately cultivating spaces for doing nothing. This might sound counterintuitive in a culture that prizes constant productivity, but unstructured time is fertile ground for creativity, emotional processing, and self-awareness. In those unmonetized moments, you can rediscover the layers of your identity that aren't tied to acquiring or displaying. This could mean setting aside 15 minutes a day to just be no phone, no external stimuli, letting your mind wander, or noticing your breath. While the system will keep nudging you to fill every gap with stimulation, learn to cherish that stillness as a sanctuary where your real self can breathe. Moreover, reconnecting with meaningful communities can be a potent antidote to the isolation inherent in the performance culture. Whether it's volunteering, joining a local club, or regularly gathering with friends to discuss ideas rather than gadgets, these experiences foster bonds based on mutual interest, compassion, or shared goals, rather than consumer choices. Over time, these genuine connections can reinforce a sense of belonging that doesn't hinge on whether you have the latest phone or the trendiest wardrobe. It's also crucial to remember that opting out of certain consumer pressures doesn't mean rejecting all forms of enjoyment or material comfort. Conscious consumption, being mindful of what you buy, why you buy it, and how it aligns with your values, is a healthy middle path between compulsive shopping and total abstinence. Perhaps you genuinely appreciate high-quality coffee or love well-crafted clothing. If so, purchasing these items with intent and gratitude can be a form of self-care that doesn't devolve into mindless accumulation. The key difference is awareness. You're not using these purchases to fill an emotional void or to broadcast a certain image. You're choosing them because they resonate with your authentic needs and preferences. Finally, it's important to recognize that breaking free from the false self is rarely a one-time event. It's more like a journey with twists, turns, and occasional relapses. Consumer culture is a formidable force. Even after you awaken to its manipulations, you'll still encounter a barrage of ads, social media feeds, and well-meaning friends or family who remain locked into the cycle. True change happens incrementally as you practice critical thinking, self-reflection, and deliberate action. Over time, these small acts accumulate, eroding the foundations of the false self and revealing a more grounded, genuine you, one that is not solely defined by possessions, brand affiliations, or curated online performance. As we enter the home stretch of this exploration, it's helpful to remind ourselves that consumption in and of itself isn't the villain. We all need certain goods and services to survive and thrive, and there's joy to be found in acquiring items that truly enhance our well-being or reflect our values. The real challenge lies in the trance of unconscious consumption, the reflexive habitual practice of buying and performing that distracts us from the more substantial dimensions of life. Once we become aware of how consumerism hijacks our emotional triggers, we can begin to transform our relationship with material things, turning consumption into a mindful choice rather than an automatic reaction. For a tangible illustration, consider the story of someone who undertook a personal experiment: no online shopping for 30 days. At first, they experienced withdrawal-like symptoms, a restless urge to browse, a sense of missing out on deals, and a peculiar anxiety about what they might be overlooking. By the end of the second week, however, something unexpected happened. In the newly freed space, they rediscovered leisure activities that had nothing to do with spending. They read books they'd been meaning to get to, engaged in more meaningful conversations with friends, and even found a renewed passion for a creative hobby. When the 30 days were up, they didn't rush back to their old habits. They had learned that the itch to buy was often just restlessness, in disguise a symptom of wanting something to do rather than something to own. This anecdote underscores a broader point. If we can pause the cycle, just for a moment, we can see more clearly how it operates. Once that clarity sets in, it becomes easier to exercise discernment. Instead of caving to every impulse, we ask ourselves whether a particular purchase aligns with our genuine needs or fosters our growth. We might even discover that some of our needs aren't needs at all, but desires instilled by marketing or peer pressure. That realization can be profoundly liberating, opening up not just mental and emotional space, but also financial and temporal resources that can be redirected toward more meaningful pursuits. This is where the distinction between pleasure and meaning becomes especially significant. Pleasure is immediate, exciting, and superficial. It's the dopamine hit of opening a new package or logging into an upgraded vacation experience. Meaning, however, is about depth, continuity, and resonance with our core values. It might involve forming relationships, committing to creative projects, or dedicating time to causes that matter deeply to us. These activities don't necessarily yield instant gratification. Sometimes they come with challenges and discomfort, but what they offer in return is far more sustaining than the momentary high of a completed purchase. The good news is that you don't have to renounce modern life or live in austere circumstances to rediscover meaning. A more balanced approach involves integrating mindful practices into your daily routine. This could be as simple as taking a conscious breath before hitting buy now, reflecting on whether this purchase truly serves you or whether it's a substitute for something deeper. It could involve setting limits on how much time you spend browsing social media or online stores. It might also mean redefining leisure to include activities that encourage introspection, relationship building, or creative expression, tasks that can't be reduced to a commodity and thus remain safe from the market's relentless encroachment. Another aspect of reclaiming meaning lies in re-examining how we define progress and success. Our culture often equates these terms with material gains and visible symbols of status. The bigger the house, the newer the car, The more frequent the exotic vacations, these are frequently held up as markers of a life well lived. Yet if we look deeper, we might notice that these metrics can lose their luster once the novelty wears off, leaving us yearning for something more substantive. True success, some would argue, involves emotional well-being, intellectual growth, and the capacity for empathy qualities that can flourish independently of one's consumer profile. In philosophical or spiritual frameworks around the world, from Stoicism in ancient Greece and Rome to the mindfulness practices of Buddhism, we see recurring themes that challenge materialistic pursuits. Their teachings suggest that inner peace and moral character often provide a more reliable pathway to lasting contentment than amassing wealth or possessions. Stoics, for example, advocate focusing on what is within your control, your reactions, values, and character, rather than external circumstances like wealth or social standing. Buddhists highlight the nature of impermanence, cautioning that clinging to transient objects or experiences leads to suffering. These traditions aren't anti-consumer per se, but they encourage us to be discerning, to understand that possessions can't fulfill deeper existential longings. Incorporating these insights into modern life doesn't necessarily require converting to a particular belief system. It can be as straightforward as practicing gratitude for what we already have, acknowledging that enough can be as good as if not better than perpetually chasing more. Acts of service, helping a neighbor, volunteering for a local cause, offering emotional support to a friend, can also shift our focus away from self-oriented consumption. When we invest effort and attention into uplifting others or contributing to the common good, we often experience a sense of purpose that no purchase can replicate. The challenge is that these forms of meaning-making don't typically come with flashy marketing campaigns to remind us of their value. There's no ad popping up in your feed every few minutes saying pause and meditate. It might make you happier. No billboard urges spend quality time with your loved ones instead of surfing online deal. Instead, we get bombarded with 1,000 messages urging us to acquire, upgrade, and consume. That's why it's vital to cultivate a counterbalance, a space in your routine where stillness, reflection, and relationships take precedence. Breaking free from the default consumer mindset also allows us to reclaim power over our time and energy. If you're not constantly shopping for the next item or orchestrating your life around the next big display, you might notice that your days open up. The mental chatter about what you must buy or how you must present yourself can quiet down, freeing cognitive bandwidth to explore your authentic interests. Perhaps you'll discover a latent passion for art, music, gardening, or some other pursuit that doesn't require incessant spending but rather thrives on attention and creativity. This shift from consumption to creation can be immensely fulfilling, offering a depth of satisfaction that constant upgrades and unboxing videos rarely provide. One powerful tool in this process is mindfulness, which at its core involves paying attention in a deliberate and non-judgmental way to the present moment. It helps you notice when you're being pulled into old patterns, be they impulsive purchases or bouts of envy, triggered by someone else's online display of affluence. A regular mindfulness practice, which might include simple, breath-focused meditation or mindful walking, trains your mind to observe thoughts and feelings without immediately reacting to them. When applied to consumer habits, mindfulness acts like a brake on the autopilot that retailers and advertisers work so hard to keep you in. Instead of seeing a flash sale and instantly clicking, "Buy you," become aware of the sensations in your body, the emotions that arise, and the thoughts that swirl in your head. If I don't get this now, I'll miss out. Or this might be the key to my happiness. By noticing these thoughts, you create a mental gap, an opportunity to decide whether the purchase really aligns with your values or needs. The simple act of a 10-second pause can unravel the marketing spells cast by slick campaigns, helping you pivot toward more intentional decisions. Beyond halting impulsive buying, mindfulness can also reveal the emotional underpinnings of your consumer behavior. Maybe you notice you're drawn to shopping apps or websites when you're lonely, stressed, or feeling inadequate. By pinpointing those emotional triggers, you gain the power to address them directly through social connection, exercise therapy, or creative projects, rather than numbing them with retail therapy. Over time, these alternative strategies can foster genuine emotional resilience as opposed to the fleeting relief that a new purchase might bring. Moreover, practicing mindfulness in social settings can reshape how you perceive others. Instead of immediately comparing your life to someone else's curated feed, you learn to see beneath the surface. Perhaps that person showcasing designer bags is grappling with deep insecurities, or the one flaunting exotic vacations is lonely. This perspective fosters empathy and reduces the impulse to match or outdo them through consumption. By reframing the narrative from competition to connection, you solidify your own sense of self-worth in ways that don't hinge on external purchases or performances. It's important to note that mindfulness isn't a cure-all. The cultural machinery propelling consumerism remains immense and persistent, and it doesn't take a lengthy break. Apps will still ping you with deals. Friends may still boast about new acquisitions, and social media will continue highlighting curated lives that look enviably perfect. Yet each mindful moment lessens the pull of these external lures, giving you the space to say no, that doesn't serve me, and to genuinely mean it. Over time, these repeated acts of discernment accumulate, forging a new identity, one that is resilient, self-aware, and increasingly immune to the fleeting temptations of consumer culture. Consider the broader societal implications of such a shift. If enough individuals begin to question the consumer rat race, industries will respond by evolving their offerings. Demand for cheaper, disposable goods might decline, replaced by a desire for items that are well-made, ethically produced, and built to last. Companies, in turn, might invest in durability, sustainability, and transparency, if that's what the public increasingly values. In this scenario, the role of marketing might also transform, focusing less on stoking new desires and more on informing consumers about genuine benefits and responsible practices. Communities, too, could become more resilient as people discover that solidarity and mutual support offer deeper rewards than competition and comparison. Local economies might flourish if consumers choose to support neighborhood businesses rather than chasing the next big online sale. Time freed from constant shopping or brand promotion could be redirected into communal events, cultural initiatives, and shared problem solving. People might relearn the art of borrowing or swapping items, something that was once commonplace before hyper-consumerism made everyone feel the need to own everything. Such transformations would of course be incremental and uneven, met with resistance from entrenched interests that profit immensely from the status quo. But the seeds of change can germinate with each individual who decides to break the cycle of unconscious consumption. Every time someone prioritizes authenticity over performance or mindful presence over frenetic scrolling, they model a different way of living, one that others might see, appreciate, and emulate. It's also worth acknowledging that economic growth in the conventional sense is often predicated on increasing consumption. Shifting away from that model might mean revisiting fundamental assumptions about prosperity and progress. Could we redefine growth to include well-being, equitable resource distribution, and ecological balance, rather than just higher quarterly sales and GDP figures? Doing so would require a collective reconsideration of what kind of world we want to live in and whether endless material accumulation is compatible with a sustainable, compassionate future. This grander vision may seem idealistic, but it's not without historical precedent. Societies evolve, norms change, and consumer culture, as we know it, is a relatively modern construct. It emerged from a particular intersection of industrial production, mass marketing, and global finance. A construct that, like any system, is subject to reconfiguration. We may already be witnessing the early tremors of such a shift as conversations around minimalism, sustainable living, mental health, and mindfulness become more mainstream. If these conversations continue gaining traction, we might collectively pivot toward a framework of living that values stability, equity, and meaningful experiences over endless consumption. To bring this closer to home, let's refocus on the individual journey of disentangling from the grip of consumer culture. A starting point is often introspection. Really taking the time to identify your core values, aspirations, and emotional triggers. Maybe you're someone who deeply values creativity but rarely pursues it because you're too busy shopping or keeping up with your digital persona. Perhaps you value family and community but find yourself too drained or distracted to nurture those bonds. Laying these truths bare can be sobering, but it also provides a map for reorienting your life. An equally vital aspect is practical boundary setting. Simple actions like removing shopping apps from your phone, unsubscribing from retail newsletters, or designating specific digital-free periods each day can help you gain control over your impulses. Another strategy is instituting a cooling-off period for purchases. Before buying anything non-essential, wait 24 or 48 hours to see if the urge passes, or if you still genuinely want the item. Such techniques might seem trivial, but they interrupt deeply ingrained habits, offering you a moment to breathe and make decisions aligned with your deeper intentions rather than fleeting cravings. Community support can also be transformative. Sharing these goals with a trusted friend or joining a local group that discusses mindful living can provide both accountability and encouragement. It helps to know you're not alone in questioning the dominant consumer mindset. In fact, many people find they can't sustain these changes in isolation, as the pull of societal norms is formidable. When you surround yourself with others who value presence over performance or experiences over possessions, you create a collective buffer against the relentless marketing onslaught. On a more philosophical note, realizing that none of us can fully extricate ourselves from consumer culture might be liberating rather than discouraging. Total disengagement could mean renouncing modern life altogether, which is neither practical nor desirable for most. Instead, aiming for conscious engagement, a thoughtful, critical approach to consumption can be a realistic and powerful objective. You accept that you will purchase certain items and even enjoy them, but you strive to do so with eyes wide open, acknowledging the emotional and societal factors at play. This measured engagement allows room for grace. You might slip occasionally, buy something on a whim, or post a photo more for likes than for genuine sharing. And that's okay. Transformation is rarely linear. The key is to remain vigilant, learning from each lapse, and returning to a place of mindfulness as soon as possible. In that sense, reorienting your relationship with consumer culture isn't about perfection, but about consistent practice, like any worthwhile discipline. Over time, the intervals of mindless consumption shrink, and the gaps where authentic life shines through widen, revealing a richer existence beneath the illusions of modern consumerism. Ultimately, the journey toward a more meaningful, less consumer-driven life is about rediscovering parts of ourselves that cannot be bought or sold. It's about honoring the quiet moments that allow us to breathe, reflect, and feel gratitude. It's about forging relationships that aren't transactional, but truly reciprocal, where we show up for each other because we care, not because we're performing a role. It's also about embracing our inherent worthiness, recognizing that no brand gadget or lifestyle upgrade can grant us the self-respect and belonging we yearn for. Those qualities emerge when we realize that we are enough right here without external validation. This recognition helps disarm the central lie of consumerism, the notion that you're perpetually lacking that fulfillment lies just one purchase away. For many of us, that lie first took hold in childhood when marketing told us that happiness was a certain toy or a particular treat. As adults, the objects of desire may have changed. Now they might be cars, luxury goods, or hyper-curated vacations, but the underlying promise remains the same. Buy me and you'll be whole. By seeing through this illusion, we free ourselves to pursue what really nourishes the soul: creativity, connection, love, altruism, and personal growth. None of this is to deny that real challenges remain in modern life: financial, emotional, social. Buying less won't magically solve every problem, but what it can do is create the breathing room to address those problems more holistically. If you're not devoting so much mental energy to chasing or displaying acquisitions, you have more bandwidth to tackle issues that truly matter to you, whether that's enhancing your career in a meaningful way, devoting time to a personal passion, or improving your relationships. You might also find you have more financial resources to allocate toward experiences or philanthropic causes that align with your values, rather than spreading your funds thin across countless material indulgences. When we talk about rediscovering meaning and the power of stillness, we're talking about a shift from frenetic doing to conscious being. It's not a call to laziness or stagnation, but to intentional living, where action arises from a place of genuine purpose rather than mindless habit. Imagine a world where, instead of impulsively clicking buy, we spend those minutes calling a loved one to check in. Or we take a short walk outside, noticing the crispness of the air, the rustle of leaves, the nuances of city life, or the calm of the countryside. These small shifts accumulate, each act a defiance of the idea that we must constantly consume to be happy. And in that defiance lies liberation. The system that profits from our perpetual dissatisfaction cannot withstand large numbers of people who realize that they can be content without the endless chase. Every mindful choice undermines the foundation of a culture built on restless want. So the next time you feel the pull to fill a void with a material purchase, consider taking a breath and asking a simple question. Is this truly for me? Or am I feeding the system that thrives on my insecurity? Over time, those small acts of awareness become a path, one that leads away from the false promises of consumerism and toward a richer, more authentic experience of being alive. Reflecting on all we've explored here, I find it genuinely encouraging to remember that breaking free from the cycle of constant buying and performing isn't only possible, it's profoundly liberating. This conversation isn't about feeling guilty or avoiding pleasure. It's about reconnecting with what truly matters in life: meaningful relationships, personal growth, and inner peace. Every mindful pause before clicking buy Every moment we choose presence over performance brings us closer to a richer, more fulfilling life. But enough from me. I'm eager to hear from you. Do you see yourself in this story? Have you found ways to step back from consumer pressure and rediscover what makes you truly happy? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Your insights and experiences are incredibly valuable, and by sharing, you're helping build a community of thoughtful, authentic living.